Okay, we are live. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Continuing on with more of this content marathon. I had a great time being on stream yesterday, starting at 1 a.m. till about 5 a.m., give or take. Now we're back for some more content. We're going to be going for a couple hours. Then we're taking another break behind me. Oops. For some reason, it did not work. Let's try this again. There we go. Behind me, we have got a green screen of any Star Trek fans out there should recognize that. We're going to talk about a brand new Star Trek Starfleet themed Masonic Lodge out of California. But for the time being, we're just going to wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Let me know any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. Dylan, how's it going? Thank you for being here. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for joining. How is your day going thus far? And don't forget, everybody watching this, a $2 super chat. You'll hear your comment right out, text to speech. I mean, that is true. Everything is livable. But that doesn't mean we don't have challenges as well. It is. Well, I'm doing a bit of a marathon streaming session again. I'm not doing the full 24 hours straight, but I am going basically for the next 24 hours doing more frequent streams, trying to catch people at different times. Also going to be going to different spots I don't normally go to while streaming, showing off some different parts of the city, showing off some different things here. So it's going to be fun. Thank you for joining, Dad. I hope you're doing well. As always, I love you. Yes, that is the test, making it through. And I mean, so long as you just keep on putting one foot in front of the other, either literally or metaphorically, I think, I think we can always make it through. That doesn't mean it's not really tough, though. Well, I do not because I have no legs, one wheel in front of the other. I mean, it's one of those things where sometimes it's easier said than done to keep on making progress, but even when you don't feel like it, trying your best to keep on moving forward, usually you'll make progress, sometimes in spite of yourself. Yes, that is of the Star Trek Lodge, Star Trek themed lodge out of California, which I'm going to talk about on today's stream. Sometimes it's nice to do, green screens. I'm going to do more green screen content lately, putting more stuff on the back of the and the background. I think it'd be kind of fun. Hello, Timothy. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I mean, I was in California a few times over the past 5 years, and I was really impressed by it. I was in both Los Angeles, California, and I was in San Francisco, California. Both were really cool. Both were beautiful. So, I am not. I was involved in wheelchair sports. I was involved in wheelchair track. But never to the Paralympic level. But I did compete in the Canada Games, which was a lot of fun, representing Manitoba, God's country. It's important to do those chores, but I appreciate you being here, whether you're here for 5 minutes or 5 hours. It's much obliged. That's true for everybody on the stream. If you're here for 5 minutes or 5 hours, I appreciate it very, very much. Seven. I just call you seven, because I can't pronounce the rest of it. I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate you watching my streams, and thank you for being here. Corey, which Corey? There's a lot of different actors called Corey. It is out of California, which makes sense because famously, Starfleet Academy was located in San Francisco, as was Starfleet, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, it makes sense that you would have that in Grand Lodge, California. Wasn't he the dude from Slipknot, right? If I recall correctly. Corey Taylor horror movie. Yeah, okay. He was in Bad Candy and Fear Clinic, apparently. I have been a Mason for just about 20 years, which is crazy to think it's been that long. This is my awesome and comfortable Snuggie, I guess it's called. A friend of mine got me this as a gift. It's really comfortable. I'm doing a lot of streaming today, so I need to be comfortable. I need to keep myself comfortable, Hubel. Frickin' toast. Any questions about Freemasonry? Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? We do not know where the Ark of the Covenant is. If I did, I promise you I would tell the world. Phew. Oh, well, I guess apparently I was wrong. So LC Fairfair knows more than I do. There are multiple arcs. I was not even aware of that. Would it be Arks of the Covenant or Ark of the Covenants? I guess it'd be Arks of the Covenant, like Commanders in Chief. I am handsome, X Trust. That's what matters. Um, only one ark of the covenant, but other arks. Shout out to all the trade. Shout out to all the haters and trolls out there. How about you send me a super chat before you start to send out any donations to 1134 Southwestern Avenue, Chicago? I do not know what that is. Just keep that in mind. Whoa, freaking toast. You need to calm down a bit here. You're getting too cranky. Morning, Daniel Bacon. Daniel Dakin. How's it going? Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I'm happy you're doing fine. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. We're not the 51st state. We'll never be the 51st state. I'm very happy to be Canada, a country, nothing more, nothing less. Country is perfect. I love Canada. I think it's the greatest country in the world, in part because we have the best, neighbors in the world. But we're not going to be the 51st state ever. Douglas Marks, things are going well. Thank you for being here. How are you doing? I am not a Shriner. I am a third degree Master Mason. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. Do I look like Rob Roy? I'll take it. I know I'm wearing this awesome, very comfortable Snuggie. Basically, a very awesome and a very cool blanket with sleeves. It's very comfortable. A friend gave this to me, and as soon as I'm going to be streaming a lot lately, I need to stay nice and comfy. I've never heard of the Royal Order of Jesters in Canada. I don't believe that we do. I'm not going to say for sure yes or no. It's not something I've ever heard of, though. We have the Shrine, but I don't believe we have the Royal Order of Jesters in Canada. I could be mistaken. Thank you for the star, Habibi. That is very kind of you. I'm grateful. Um, and hello to the name I cannot pronounce. Thank you for being here. I have watched your videos and resaved. I think you mean researched the Masons. You truly have a disgusting history. Well, Brian, you are looking at a bunch of nonsense if you think our history is disgusting. Um, it is true, I am disabled. I want to be, I mean, I want to be on Mars. I think it'd be incredible to be on Mars. I don't really care if I'm the first disabled person or the last disabled person. I just think it'd be incredible to visit Mars. To visit another country, geez, another planet, excuse me, would be amazing and be something I'd be very grateful for. No idea what you're talking about, Brian Addington, but please hit like and subscribe. True disciple, thank you for being here. There are many Christian Freemasons who would agree with you on the value of repentance and turning to Jesus. But Freemasonry itself is not a religion. The higher you go, that is not true. Freemasonry, there's not, you need to stop thinking about Freemasonry in terms of like levels and heights and higher versus lower. That's not how Freemasonry works. It's one of those mistakes that people make when it comes to Freemasonry, right? This emphasis on quote unquote higher degrees is baloney. That's not how Freemasonry works. The highest degree of Freemasonry is the third degree, and there's nothing dark in the third degree. After that, it's appendant bodies. It's going well. I mean, this is my work. So, Daniel, if you want to help me out with it, please hit like and subscribe. Consider a super chat. All that stuff helps out big time. We're just going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. I'm just doing some work right now, but while I'm doing some work, I figure I'd stream, wait to see who finds me. And I hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to be taking a break at around 11, but then I'm going to be going to get some coffee and be showing you guys the Caesar's Windsor. You can check it out there with me. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. That's incredibly kind of you. Um, when whenever I'm streaming, jumping on, you'll find you'll get a notification. Oof, it's got an itchy back. All right, we're just going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. As always, the first 60 minutes, no specific discussion points, just going to hang out, wait 60 minutes, though. That's when I give specific talking points, specific discussions, specific ideas. So let's give it a bit of time. I mean, Freemasonry is not part of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is a separate thing, right? The Supreme Court is kind of a political entity or a judicial entity. Freemasonry is neither political nor judicial, nor part of government. Unfortunately, Freemasons are not immune from the prejudices of the day, which means, unfortunately, they haven't racist Freemasons throughout the world. It's one of those things where I wish it wasn't the case. All I can say is Freemasonry in its best form, or in its truest sense, promotes universal tolerance, kindness, and respect for all. Excuse me. No, the Trekkie Lodge is a new lodge on the moon. The Trekkie Lodge will be out of California, which does make sense, by the way. I mean, Starfleet Academy and Starfleet was located in San Francisco famously, so I suppose it makes sense that California would lay claim to a Grand Lodge, a Starfleet themed Grand Lodge. Although maybe, or sorry, not a Starfleet themed lodge. Although maybe, who knows, we're going to come to a point one day where the Starfleet Lodge and the Moon Lodge, Tranquility Lodge, will meet together. It'd be kind of funny if they did. Interesting. In terms of would you visit a Star Trek themed Masonic Lodge? No is at 84%. Yes is at 16%. Not a lot of Trekkies. That's okay. It's still great to have you all here. Thank you so much for being here. I am not in Hamilton. I'm in Windsor, Ontario, but I've visited Hamilton many times. Always loved it. It's a great city. So you go Dune, then Star Wars, then Star Trek? I mean, I think that's a little bit crazy. Don't get me wrong. I really like Dune. I don't mind Star Wars, but for me, it's Star Trek's in the lead. Although I'm not a huge science fiction fan in general, I prefer scary movies and horror movies to to science fiction. Although growing up, I was a big Star Trek fan. Still going, Minotaur. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll hit that like button. Um, could have. I've been to Hamilton many times. It's an awesome place. Also, Toronto, the GTA. I know Hamilton. Actually, I forget if Hamilton is part of the GTA or not officially, but you very likely have. I traveled around a lot. I'm lucky and I'm grateful for all the different times I've been able to travel through Freemasonry. Wouldn't shock me. Event Horizon, I like it a lot. Alien So, I mean, Alien is obviously a scary movie pretending to be a science fiction movie. Aliens is an action movie pretending to be a science fiction movie. Event Horizon is just a horror movie. I don't think it's even pretending to be anything but that. But it's a really great film. I enjoy it quite a bit. This is an awesome sweater. I don't know. It's not even a sweater. It's like a snuggie, right? It's got the awesome hood on it. A friend of mine got me this for Christmas a few years ago, and it's very comfortable. All right, Vonix, Art, what is your favorite scary movie? Not to, you know, borrow a cliche, but I love scary movies as well. I traveled to the UK, not past January. I traveled to the UK last year in November. It was a lot of fun. I got to hang with my family over there. It was really cool. I loved it. So it was great to be hanging out with them again and to visit Masonic lodges in London, Newcastle, well, London, Haltwhistle, and Edinburgh. It was really fun. Never seen Room, so I can't speak to it. Isn't that the movie where they throw spoons at the screen or whatever it is? Um, The Mist is a classic. Shutter Island is great. I enjoy that quite a bit. Hey Cameron, come to Essex. I would love to. I'd love to be back in the UK. United Kingdom was beautiful, so I'd love to get back and visit it once again. Together. I like Together. Together was really, really cool. Um, nice. I loved the London United Grand Lodge of England. It was beautiful. Not too hard to get to from the airport. You just take the tube. I will say it was absolutely packed. I could not get over just how crazy packed London was as a city. But it's beautiful nonetheless. I instantly become incorporated toll. There was once a Star Wars themed hotel in London or just around the world somewhere. In general. So Vox and Art, I so Vox and Art. Now I have a Medium channel um, where I've actually written about my love of scary movies. My favorite scary movies are from the Nightmare, and my favorite movies altogether actually are from Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5 are my two favorite films of all time. I actually write about why I love them on Medium. You can find me and find what I write through Medium if you go to Meeting My Horror Heroes. So if you want to check that out, I hope you'll do so. Let me know in the meantime if you have any thoughts or questions on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. dude, you look Albanian. I don't know how Albanians are supposed to look, but I assume then Albanians are incredibly handsome people. In which case, thank you. I'm proud to look Albanian. Freemasonry, as in the speculative club or group. Now, it was originally made up of guilds of stonemasons that eventually became a social club or a social group. There's still obviously the profession and the trade unions, but I'm part of speculative Freemasonry, which is a guild. Um, But originally it was stonemasons, which were organized into guilds, and then over time they evolved into speculative masonry we have today. I mean, in some ways it was a union, certainly, but again, when I'm talking about Freemasonry, I'm talking about the speculative masons that exist today. They do share certain overlaps with unions, amongst other things, the emphasis and the focus on mutual support for one another, charity for one another and one another's families, kind of acting as a social safety net, providing safety in areas where maybe there's a little bit of weakness in the civil safety net. So there are similarities, and it's meant to, the degree system within Freemasonry is absolutely meant to parallel um, is absolutely meant to parallel the union training system and the union mentorship system, where you start as an apprentice, become a fellow craft, and then a master mason, which is how stonemasons did it back in the day. Epstein was not a mason. Sorry, Spartaguts. There is no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was a Freemason. Um, Maybe a love of Freemasonry keeps me from needing to go to sleep. How's about that? And I've never worshipped the devil, and I'm not part of the Illuminati. So you're 0 for 3. Um, I'll sleep when I'm dead. How about that? But I would ask that you guys, if you're joining me, hit the like button and the subscribe button. I would be truly grateful. I mean, some people may take it literally. I'm not a Christian, so it's not so much that I take any holy book, including the Bible, literally. But I do recognize that they probably have some valuable metaphorical lessons within. And I try to take those in my day-to-day life. But I also recognize there are a lot of faiths that probably have valuable lessons. Um, that's as true, Vox and Art, and that's a very good thing to keep in mind, right? We can't be sitting here and judging groups by the actions of individuals, because unfortunately there are evil people everywhere. But we can, as much as possible, I think, through groups like Freemasonry, try to focus on the positives of humanity or encourage the best aspects of ourselves. What religion am I? I'm not really any religion. I mean, I was born kind of into a Christian religion, I guess. My family's Anglican. I guess I would consider myself, though, I'm not really of any religion, um, except for that universal religion of which all men can agree to be good and true and honorable, or at least to try to be good and honorable. Hello, Mikhail. The goat is great as always. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. I would truly, truly appreciate it. Well, they wouldn't be called separate from us, right? They would be called appendant bodies. So they're part of the family, but they are appendant. So Shrine, York Rite, Scottish Rite. If I recall correctly, Eastern Star might be exclusive to Master Masons, though I forget. Um, it may be, if I recall correctly, it may be actually that they are Eastern Star. You can join even if you're an entered apprentice, But I believe you have to be a Master Mason before you can join Eastern Star. So I need to double check on that. Thank you, Mikhail. I appreciate it very much. With whom, Baniel Dakin? Um, I mean, again, if you're an appendant body, we will associate with you quite often. The appendant bodies are important parts of the Masonic order. Now, they are not the higher degrees, despite what conspiracy theorists think, but they are important degrees and important parts of the craft nonetheless, whether it be Scottish Rite or York Rite. Um, no, I would not leave them. I mean, they have, for example, co-masonry, they have Eastern Stars, so they're already doing that, so I wouldn't leave. Bardclay, I mean, what I would do is look into the Order of Women Freemasons. It's out of England primarily, but there are some Order of Women Freemason lodges throughout North America. I would also look into Eastern Star and co-masonry. Um, well, I mean, I don't think we need to not get along with any clubs or groups, whether they are Elks, Moose, whatever it might be. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting along with all these different organizations. Because at the end of the day, what matters most is the growth of civic institutions. As civic institutions grow, so too will Freemasonry. It's not a both. It's a, you know, it's not a, it's not one or the other. It's all. Right. I'm not interested in being part of a world in which Freemasonry is thriving, but the Elks are in decline or the Moose are in decline. Because ultimately, that decline will sooner or later come back to Freemasonry. It's either we all grow or nobody grows, in my experience, at least long term. Um, Well, if you're looking for the Masonic orders that aren't divided, co-Masonry is your best bet. That's charted out of the Grand Orient of France, but it also exists throughout Europe. I think it's also in England. Co-Masonry would be the best place to look. Um, why not just leave the content? Um, right? Why? Yeah, why not just stop watching? We are still hanging out. Please hit that like button and the subscribe button. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, please let me know. I think maybe it's a bot. A friend? No, A friend was on before. I think A friend is just a cranky conspiracy theorist dude who doesn't understand Freemasonry but thinks he does. Well, the Royal Order of Jesters, I mean, it's not something I know much about. To my knowledge, they're not in Ontario, but I could be mistaken. I've never met any Royal Order of Jesters. Um, but I could be wrong, right? Mirth is king. Oh, so Ottawa Court. So there is one. It's not one, I guess it's in Ottawa primarily. Never met any Royal Order of Jesters, so it's not one I can speak too much, not something I can speak too much about. Yeah, Windsor, Ontario. Kind of like the 33rd degree, it is an invitation exclusive order. I know that. I love Canada as well. I've always said Canada is the greatest country in the world, in part because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. So I'm grateful to be Canadian. And also, I'm grateful to have the States so close by. I love to visit them very often. I know a lot of Masons are perhaps concerned about visiting, a lot of Canadians, including Canadian Masons, are concerned about visiting the States right now, which makes a lot of sense. I can understand why, but I'm still choosing to visit them when I can, because it's a really great country. Fair enough, Captain Blackbird. Yes, Canada, Ontario, or Ontario, Canada. A lot of people feel that way, and I think there's a fairness to that. I've always said I'm not a big fan of saying any country should put itself first. Rather, every country should consider the common good. Having said that, I do think patriotism can be a valuable motivator to encourage people to care for their communities and their neighbors. That sense of civic pride can encourage that sense of civic pride, I think, can encourage charity and community towards our neighbors. Captain Blackbird, it can be if you're not careful. I think nationalism. I think any kind of nationalistic kind of outlooks can absolutely become, if we're not careful, a recipe for racism, or I even know, pick your term, racism or just cruelty, right? Viciousness. Patriotism is an attribute of the vicious, I think is what Voltaire said, if I recall correctly. Um, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump myself. Now, that's my own personal opinion. Every Freemason will have his own opinions on Donald Trump, but I'm not a fan of him at all. Um, Looks like we might have some bombing happening soon once again. The Trump says he expects to be bombing if negotiators can't reach a deal. So that's concerning. Yeah, like I consider myself a Canadian first and a Mason second, but that doesn't mean I would ever want my nationalism to get to such a point where I care about Canada exclusive to the rest of the world or at the expense of the rest of the world. I would never want Canada to be a rich country if every country around us or in the world was poor. That's not a recipe for stability, long term or short term. Daniel, I think many people would agree with you on that. I will say I'm not really concerned now about locking him up. I'm just concerned about a new presidency in 4 years and trying to undo some of the damage that we're experiencing right now. Same thing with the cabinet. I'm not a fan of the cabinet by any means, but I think the focus needs to be right now on, instead of quote unquote locking people up, the focus needs to be on undoing the damage as much as possible. That's true, but we are dealing with them now, and the key is to find a way to move on from it, because we're going to be dealing with some high gas prices. We're going to be dealing with high cost of living, loss of research into medical care, vaccines, all of that stuff we're going to have to undo before we start to look at retribution. I think Trump and company should be arrested for war crimes. Okay, Vox and Art. I mean, so I'm pro, if you talk about women's rights, I mean, I'm pro-choice. I think, again, Freemasonry is not a political institution or political order. There are many Masons who have many different views on not just women's rights, but political questions in general, the war in Iran, all this type of stuff, right? But what we need to remember is, as Freemasons, hopefully we can, through civic institutions, create a better community for all men, women, young, old, whatever it might be, immigrants, um, immigrants, natives, whatever it might be, to the community. I think that should be our goal. The civil space, which is the political space, we have a lot less say over, but generally a stronger civic space results in a stronger, better, healthier civil space, at least in my opinion. Um, Whoa, Daniel Dakin, you need to calm down a little bit here. You don't talk to other people on the stream, just talk to me. Um, let alone thousands, Captain Blackbird, let alone thousands. You're not wrong. Um, you're not wrong. Oh, now we're on to the abortion debate. Again, I don't speak for everybody, I speak for myself. I think there's just too many examples where not providing the choice or the decision or not providing the choice would be immoral. Um, and so I think you have to trust the woman, you have to trust the doctor, right? Doctors go to medical school for a long time. It's the woman's body. We have to trust that they will make the best decision for them and for their families. Um, as a general rule, that's always my kind of general attitude I have about life, which is you trust the person in the room, you trust the people in the room to make the best decision for them. Once you start to get government involved in it, this is my kind of conservative libertarian streak coming out. Once you start to get anybody who's not the doctor and not the patient involved in these questions, I think it can be not so good. Especially when you start to get into things like, okay, you know, what is the medical threshold at which you provide an abortion, depending on, is the life of the mother at risk? Is the health of the mother at risk? How do you determine that? Um, I think that is worth remembering, right? These are tough decisions to be made. They're not going to be made any easier by having the government involved. Um, well, I'm not going to ban Daniel Dakin, so you can leave if you want. Um, oh, I'm actually saying I'm libertarian conservative. I mean, it's it's one of those things where there's all kind of different political viewpoints that get represented within Freemasonry. That's one of the really cool things about Freemasonry, right? We're not allowed to discuss politics in lodge. I think that's one of the best parts about it. So I could be sitting next to you know, somebody on the left, somebody on the right, somebody in the center, and I would never know it unless we discuss it after lodge. I just discovered it's also National Library Workers Day. So not only is it National Library Week, it's also National Library Workers Day. As someone who loves public libraries and think they're incredibly vital and incredibly valuable to a local community, and also think that every Freemason should have a library card, I should take a moment to give a shout out to not just the libraries themselves, but the library workers who make it possible for a community library to exist. Whenever I'm traveling to a new town, if I have some spare time between a Masonic Lodge meeting or between Masonic Lodge meetings, I will always try my best to visit the local library. They usually have some really cool resources, especially if you want to do some research about local Freemasonry. the best place to go is the lodge, but very often the second best place to go is either the local library or the local historical society. It can sometimes feel like we're in trouble, but who knows? There's been a lot of times throughout history where things have seemed pretty grim, and we managed to turn it around. There's some truth to that, Bard Clay. I mean, but that's also true for almost anything, right? The reason communities tend to decline is in part because people start to feel like there's nothing they can do, which then leaves the space open for the worst actors to come into communities and kind of destroy the civic and communal infrastructures. No, we're not going to disrespect anybody. So we're going to just put you in a bit of a timeout. We're not going to disrespect any groups, that's for sure. The new generation will not be programmed anymore. Our eyes are wide open. I mean, I think the problem is the opposite. People no longer, I mean, the game, quote unquote, which is politics, there's actually a lot of value to politics. There's also a great deal of um, there's a great deal of value in politics and political decision making because that can very often form consensus. The other option, if you're not willing to use politics to form consensus, then you're left with pure force, which is a very dangerous thing and a very dangerous way to kind of form governance or form a government is through force. It's better to try to form consensus and get voluntary support, right? Even a dictatorship, in theory, is going to have a lot more success if it's able to govern with at least some consensus and some agreement from the people, at least in my experience. Well, Vonnick's art, I don't think it's disrespectful towards women if somebody is pro-life or pro-choice. I'm pro-choice, but that is me speaking for myself. That's not me speaking for any other individuals, including Freemasons. There are probably, in my experience, the political views of a Masonic lodge usually are reflective of the community in which it's located. So if you have a community in which it's 50% of the community is pro-life and 50% is pro-choice, then in the lodge, it'll probably be 50-50. But you wouldn't really ask people because that's a political question, and we're not going to discuss politics within the lodge. James, I had a break. I took a break. I took a nap about 5, 6 hours ago. Took a nap for a few hours, came back on. Um, Voxen art or Vonix art. I think you're in the wrong stream. This isn't really a discussion point I have on this channel. The point isn't to discuss pro-life or pro-choice. It's to discuss Freemasonry. Um, I mean, as a general rule, I just think, and this is me speaking for myself, I just think these type of decisions are so complicated and so complex. It's best left up to the patient and the doctor. They are the ones who should be deciding this. I think once you start to get the government involved, it just complicates things. But that's my own personal opinion. It's not a Masonic opinion. Um, I don't need to unpack that because this is my stream and I'm free to pack or unpack what I so choose. Um, right? It's not my it's not my responsibility to unpack or pack anything because it's my stream. And you seem to want to get involved in a conversation that I don't want to get involved in myself. Um, what I want to talk about right now is the new Starfleet Masonic Lodge that has just opened up in California. This is from Freemasons for Dummies, which is a Christopher Hodap webpage. Published this on Friday, April 17th, 2026. I would be. I mean, I'm an 18th degree, but even being an entered apprentice is an honorary degree. Certainly being a Master Mason is the highest degree within Freemasonry. Right, I can choose to disclose or not disclose whatever I want about my life, including my Masonic ties. So California opens Starfleet Lodge. This is an article from April 17th, 2026. The Grand Lodge of California has officially established Freemasonry's first Star Trek-themed affinity lodge. Starfleet Lodge was consecrated on Sunday. That would have been April 19th, I think. In the Pleasanton Masonic Hall, Grand Master Garrett S. Chan was on hand for the occasion. What I like is they used the Enterprise D from Star Trek: The Next Generation on their lodge advertisements, which I think is really cool. Their location makes sense as Pleasanton is a suburban neighborhood of San Francisco where, according to the canon of the Star Trek universe, is a location of Starfleet headquarters, or will be in the 23rd century. No word yet on whether they can be numbered 1701 once they satisfy the requirements of being under dispensation. Well, what I would say is when it's my stream, Vonexart, I'm free to discuss what I want and free to not discuss what I don't want. You can't force me to talk about anything I don't want to discuss. Worshipful Brother Adam Hannon is the lodge's founding worshipful master. Worshipful Brother Nicholas Hayworth, Senior Warden. Worshipful Brother Dinesh Shabra, Junior Warden. And Worshipful Brother Gary Sparks, Senior Deacon. The Tyler is armed with a very sharp bat'leth to repel boarders. That is a Klingon weapon in the Star Trek universe. In recent years, California has been encouraging the establishment of affinity lodges, made up of members with special interests in common. As many as 20 years ago, my friend, worshipful brother Jeffrey Naylor, strongly advocated for affinity lodges based on shared outside interests of groups of Masons. He encouraged embracing ideas like a Lionel Lodge for train enthusiasts, arguing that common passions could attract quality men to Freemasonry without conflicting with its principle. Many jurisdictions have hundreds of lodges, creating opportunities for unique, non-cookie cutter experiences rather than identical ones. In England, the United Grand Lodge of England has long supported this approach, with numerous affinity lodges for hobbies and occupations, such as fishermen, gamers, F1 racing fans, actors, musicians, and rugby players, alongside their university scheme to attract students and faculty. A new science fiction and fantasy themed lodge in the UK recently drew over 130 attendees at its consecration. One member noted that the lodges simply combine two passions, strengthening both the lodge and the fraternity while maintaining standard ritual and meetings. Sadly, affinity lodges still have not become widespread in the United States, which is a missed opportunity. My own jurisdiction of Indiana has seen a few special purpose lodges over the years, including ones for disabled candidates, a blood drive, Transylvania Lodge, which is awesome, by the way, historic preservation and medical professionals, plus historic language lodges in German back in the 19th century. There is, however, increasing interest in contemplative, philosophical, and esoteric-minded lodges. With so many possibilities within our basic framework, there is ample room to experiment while honoring Masonic landmarks and thinking creatively to attract and retain new members and revitalize the fraternity, which I think is really cool. I would love to see more of these affinity lodges, including the Star Trek themed lodge. I think that's awesome. Um, Food replicators do not have any green beans, which is a cool point as well. Um, Looks like a beautiful lodge, so maybe I'll get to visit it one day. I'd love to be back in San Francisco. It was a beautiful place to visit. A really great city. I don't like all the hate it gets. Um, we should not do that, elite. We should not create a patriarchal society. I think right now, in some ways, society might be a little bit too patriarchal still, not enough opportunities necessarily for women. But I'm not interested in a patriarchal or a matriarchal society. I'd rather a society in which everyone is respected and has the opportunity to contribute as much as possible within, as they so choose. Um, I mean, James, the issue of gaining members, I mean, it is discussed in lodges. It's also discussed quite frequently outside of lodges, right? Within kind of informal meetings. Because, yeah, as membership declines in North America, it becomes harder and harder for Freemasonry to continue its relevancy, right? And I think within Freemasonry, the most important thing is the extent to which we are relevant in our communities. Um, well, that wasn't women, that was a woman. And by the way, it's not as though Adam, if you believe the Bible literally, it's not as though Adam did much to, you know, I think they're both equally to blame. Um, a lot of conversations happening on this stream that are ignoring Freemasonry, which is what we want to talk about. So I'm going to put a few people in timeout for 5 minutes, just so we can calm this thing down. Because I'm not really interested in this, in these conversations at the moment. So let's start putting some people in timeout for a couple minutes. We need everybody to just calm down. Well, you could argue, I mean, um, if you are somebody who takes the Bible literally, that's one thing. If you are somebody who takes the Bible metaphorically, you could argue the Eve story or the story of Genesis is a retelling of Adam and Eve, where the box is meant to represent the Garden of Eden, or the opposite around. The Garden of Eden represents the Pandora's box, and Eve represents Pandora. That's certainly possible. I wouldn't be shocked. Themes tend to continue throughout history, right? You see the same themes pointing out over and over again in literature and in a variety of different thematic contexts: literature, movies, TV shows, plays, poems, going all the way back to the Iliad to modern times. I don't know. I mean, love your enemies seemed pretty novel for the time. I would say it seemed like a very novel idea for the time. Yes, which I have no issue with, to be honest, James. I'm one of the, I know there are some Masons who are really concerned about it. I'm not. I think it makes complete sense. I think, as public servants, like we as Freemasons, look, if you are a police officer, you're a public servant. I think so long as you are disclosing not to the public, because you should be free as you should be free to keep aspects of your life private from the public, but to your superior officers, I think it absolutely makes sense to disclose that. So long as that information about the disclosure is kept safe, so long as that information about the disclosure is not available to the public, but rather can be used by your superior officers and by your supervisors to protect against possible conflicts of interest. I have no issue with requiring police to disclose Masonic membership. In fact, I used to work as a probation officer and then in a jail, and there were times when I had to disclose my Masonic membership. I think as of right now, 300 Masons approximately have disclosed membership from the Met Police Force. So, and the United Grand Lodge of England, after attempting to, appeal the decision of the Metropolitan Police Force or appeal the policy, when they, when their appeal was denied, they are now encouraging all their members who are Metropolitan Police officers to be compliant with the ruling and to be compliant with the policy, as they should. So it's not a public registration. I would not support a public registration. The registration is private, and the information is kept with, I believe it's 5 supervisors in the Metropolitan Police Force, which I think is the appropriate way to deal with it. Your supervisors should know about it, not the public, because we should have the right to maintain privacy except when absolutely necessary to avoid conflicts of interest. The way to avoid conflicts of interest is you let your supervisor know, not the public. Golden Rule is far older. That is very true. What's going on, Icosahedron? Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. If you are new to this stream, I know you're not, Icosahedron. Let me know, would you visit a Star Trek themed Masonic lodge like this one? Hopefully we can get the registration number 1701. It's called Starfleet Lodge under dispensation, which I think is really, really cool. Looks like they had an incredible time opening up this lodge. It is an affinity lodge, which means it's designed as a lodge for members who have special interests. In this case, Star Trek specifically, probably science fiction more generally. Well, you can visit lodges. Most lodges will let you tour them if you go knock on the door and ask and express an interest in it, or they'll hold an open house, or they'll hold a special event. Usually, just find the Masonic Lodge in your area, get in touch with them, express your interest, and go from there. Gene Roddenberry, I think he was, but I don't want to say for sure. I think he was, though. Let me double check. Apparently not. There is no verified public evidence or official recording or official record confirming that Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry was a Freemason. So apparently he was not. Well, this chat is going in places I don't want it to go to, and that also creates difficulty for people finding the stream, because I'm trying to create a stream about Freemasonry. If the chat is all focused on gender issues, that means people looking for information about Freemasonry will be sent away from this stream, because YouTube will think it's a stream about gender issues and not about Freemasonry, right? You want to try to keep this chat on the topic of, on the relevant topics. Well, maybe visiting would give you a better view of Freemasonry. I mean, it's up to you, but I would suppose, so long as you're not being an asshole or a jerk when you're visiting the lodge, then, you can have whatever view you want, I suppose. These are historic buildings. Very often, they're also public buildings. Like the Detroit Masonic Temple holds public events and public celebrations. So, very often what you find is people will have a negative view of Freemasonry, but will have spent, all sorts of days and weeks visiting Masonic buildings for public events and public celebrations. Even in Windsor, we're having production, we're having plays take place. Right now, they're showing Guildenstern and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. What's the play again called? Um, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. They're showing that production at the Windsor Masonic Temple. So all sorts of people are visiting the temple, checking out this play. Many of them may have no idea they're actually in a Masonic building. So, yeah, like the Detroit Masonic Temple has had weddings, dances, concerts, plays, productions, right? When you say you're going to the Masonic, it's funny how many people don't realize when they say in Detroit they're going to the Masonic, what they mean is they're going to visit a Masonic temple, but they have no idea because they don't associate it with Freemasonry. To them it's simply a theater or community a theater or a wedding venue, as opposed to what it truly is, which is a Masonic building that allows the public to use it for community events, public events, celebrations, etc., etc. Well, that's a good approach to take, James. So there is Freemasonry in India. $1 million, Master, because then I could probably just find a way to turn that $1 million into a few more million, and then get dinner with Jay-Z some other way. $39 votes. 69% no, 31% yes. So basically 70-30%. Still the majority saying no, they would not visit a Star Trek themed Masonic Lodge. I would love to. Maybe I'll get the chance one day. Right now they're still under dispensation, but they're working to get their number. Um, yes, we were talking about the fact that in Pleasantville, which is a suburb of San Francisco, they've just opened up a Star Trek themed Masonic Lodge, which is really, really cool. And I love to see it. Affinity lodges, which are lodges where everyone has a singular interest or a shared common interest, like Star Trek, they are becoming more and more popular, which is a good thing. They're incredibly valuable. Because usually common interests can help maintain membership in a Masonic Lodge. Hello, apps. Thank you for being here. Dale, if you do like the Star Trek theme, then please hit like and subscribe. Consider a super chat. Just $2, you'll hear your super chat read out through text to speech. I agree. I actually know somebody who's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. He's actually part of the Lord of the Rings fan club. And I agree, Lord of the Rings Lodge would be dope. Or just a medieval lodge in general would be really, really cool. Um, oh, with the pun, The Next Generation. My favorite Star Trek show was The Next Generation. I thought that was awesome. Um, I always wondered if I were to make my way into the future somehow, like, will Freemasonry still be there? Will Freemasonry still exist in the 24th century? I don't necessarily know. Whoa, gifted. I'm a big fan of my American brethren and my American family and my American friends. So, no. I thought Next Generation was incredible. I loved it. Daniel, you want to be careful. I mean, Like, that's one of those things where just because we have existed for centuries doesn't mean we're going to continue to exist for centuries. We need to be careful not to get too cocky or too overconfident. I think that can be a really dangerous thing. Um, to be. Just because something's always been a certain way doesn't mean it will always be a certain way. We're still up to us, and it's our responsibility to fight to keep it going, as opposed to assuming that it will always be there. That's where you get dangerous. Like, what's it called? The Gordon Ramsay show, Restaurant Nightmares, is a really good example of this, right? It's really good example of this, which is he'll go to a restaurant that's really struggling, and all the owners and the staff will say like, um, "Oh, we used to be so great. We used to be doing so well. We had great customers, and then over time it just declined." It's usually because they were taking, it's usually because they were taking their success for granted, and they assumed because they were successful, they would always be successful, never put in the work. Freemasonry is kind of the same way. Because we had such success in the 1920s, we unfortunately rested on our laurels and did not do the work to ensure we would maintain our success. Um, Crowley was not a high-ranking Mason. He was almost certainly a clandestine and illegitimate Mason. Um, Thank you for the star, Adrift Happiness. That's very kind of you. Um, I'm not American. I'm Canadian. So I guess you can hate what you want, but you shouldn't. There are no guarantees. It's up to us to do our best to ensure the continuation of Freemasonry, but that's something we need to do, right? It's not, it's one of those things where it's our responsibility to ensure it continues. If you are struggling to take a poop, you need to speak to a doctor. So make sure you do. We're just going to keep hanging out, waiting to see who joins. I'll be ending this stream soon, taking another break. Then I'll be going back on and streaming again in a little bit. I'm going to be doing kind of, for lack of a better term, a stream marathon, or at least a content marathon, producing content across multiple platforms over the next, I guess it would be 24 hours. Well, Aleister Crowley, we know he claimed to have joined a lodge in Mexico, and then I believe he joined the Grand Orient. He did attend lodges in England, but he was most likely clandestine. Um, all right. Hello, Peter Carruthers. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. To anybody watching this, and if you're new to the stream, please hit like and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, hit the like button. Let me know, would you visit a Masonic lodge? He was, a regular clandestine. It's unfortunate because, a lot of the things he said have now been lumped in with Freemasonry, which is unfortunate. Thank you for the gold coin as well. That's incredibly kind of you. Some Masons will, some Masons won't. I personally don't acknowledge him as a regular member. That doesn't mean, like, you can be an irregular Mason and I can still consider you to be dedicated to Freemasonry. It's just your version of Freemasonry. It's not recognized. Usually there's a lot more kind of foolishness in irregular lodges. Not always, but sometimes. Manly P. Hall was a Freemason. However, when he wrote The Secret Teachings of All Ages, if I recall correctly, the title, he was not at that time a Freemason. He didn't join Freemasonry until like 30 years later. So you need to keep that in mind as well. A lot of people get that mistaken. We are getting closer to 4,000 subscribers, so if you can help a brother out, I'd really appreciate it. Well, I mean, there's a lot of, pay for play things where they demand money for degrees, which is not a thing Freemasonry should ever do. Getting your degree is not about paying money, it's about advancing in the craft. They'll have rituals, they'll make promises to people like, we'll make you rich or make you famous or get you women if you become a Freemason. All of that stuff is bogus. It's not what Freemasonry is about. Anybody joining to get rich or famous or powerful is going to be disappointed. So there's that as well. It's just a lot of kind of promises of power and fame and riches. A lot of ceremonies that have nothing to do with Freemasonry. I've heard of some of these irregular lodges performing ceremonies that are dangerous, which is never okay. Masonic ritual should never be dangerous. So, well, don't do that, CEO of my time. If anybody tells you that by becoming a Freemason you will get rich and famous, you're going to be very disappointed. That's not what Freemasonry is about, nor should it be. Freemasonry is about improving the world around you, not what you can benefit or get from it. So you need to keep that in mind. Timothy is useful because he's here. Thank you for the rose or the flower. That's very kind. I appreciate that very much. Freemasonry is not Catholic. Freemasonry is not a religion of any sort. Freemasonry is not religious. So you need to keep that in mind as well. No worries, James. I've never heard the name Leo Zagami, so I can't speak to that. Well, thank you. I don't know how rested I look in the middle of a very long stream. However, I hope that you will, tinfoil hat wearer, hit the like button. And don't forget, if it's been a long time since you've seen me, it could be because you don't have your notification bell turned on and you're not getting notifications of when I'm streaming. So the Masonic hierarchy is not close to the Catholic system. I don't think I ever told you that. If I did, I was wrong. That's not how it works. The hierarchy of Freemasonry, I mean, I don't even know what that means. There's a worshipful master, but it's democratic, right? Freemasonry is a democratic system. It's not. Whereas the church, almost every church, is by definition not democratic. Star Trek is the future. Well, maybe Masonic lodges within Star Trek are the future. Please hit like and subscribe. Viking Lloyd. Zach Johnson, please hit like and subscribe. You may feel that, but you are incorrect. In my experience, Freemasons come from all walks of life. They can be plumbers, they can be electricians, they can be politicians, and anything in between. Never seen any evidence, though, that quote-unquote high-ranking are Freemasons. No worries, tinfoil hat wearer. And if you've been busy, completely understandable. You got to put your life first, right? However, what I'm just saying is certainly it's possible to, just turn on that notification bell. That way, at least you get the notification. You may still be too busy to join, which is perfectly understandable, but at least you'll get the notification and you can decide to stop in for a few minutes, or you can focus on your chores and your other commitments, which is just as important, or more important, I should say, right? Your life comes first. Yes, Timothy Carroll, and as a member of Tranquility Lodge 2000, I am so happy that man is going back to the moon. I think that's awesome. I'd love to see us do more of it. I think it's in 2 years. The plan is for humans to once again set foot on the moon, which I think would be incredible. So, Viking Lloyd, there is no such thing as being a blood Freemason. That's not how it works. Freemasonry, to join, you must join of your own free will and accord. If you could become a Freemason based on your blood lineage, that would mean that you are not becoming a Freemason of your own free will and accord. You're not born into Freemasonry, you choose to be a Freemason. Um, Hello, introverted errant. Please hit like and subscribe. Sorry that you missed what I said. That's kind of funny, elite bloodline, but the better answer is it's a secret. How many Freemasons, how many Freemason plumbers does it take to fix the sink? It's a secret. Nice, Zach Johnson. Yeah, Masonic funerals are a very important part of Freemasonry. They're one of the truly public ceremonies that we have. It's a great way for us, A, to say a goodbye to our departed brother or your grandfather, but it's also, and it's just as cool, it's very valuable because it's a way for us to say thank you to his remaining family for letting him spend time with us, right? A funeral is a good reminder that our time on earth is precious and limited. We don't have forever on here. Every hour that someone spends at a Masonic lodge is an hour that they are spending away from their family, away from their kids, away from their friends. So a funeral is a good chance for us to say to the family through a service, thank you for letting your brother, thank you for letting your husband, your father, your friend, your son, thank you for letting him spend time with us. Spend some of his precious limited time with us. I love high 12 clubs. I think they're called high noon 12s very often as well, but high 12 clubs, they're excellent. I know there's a very popular one, to my knowledge, in Texas, in Arlington. Whoa, Elite, you need to stop making fun of people on the stream. It's not cool. Or stop insulting people on the stream. And stop insulting people's ancestors on the stream. Well, in that case, Viking Lloyd, you should be able to send me a super chat, if that's the case. Zach, I mean, there's no rush. So if you want to become a Freemason, that's awesome. If you decide you don't want to, that's okay too. The purpose of this channel isn't to convince anyone to become a Freemason. Rather, it's to give me an outlet to talk about why I love Freemasonry, to promote the ways it was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, and to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. So it can happen. Yeah, just because you have family who are Freemasons, it doesn't mean you're automatically a Freemason, right? Being a Freemason doesn't mean you're going to be rich. The biggie, that's not how it works. Please hit like and subscribe, though, and give me a super chat to help make me rich once again. Good. I'm glad that you find it educational. I hope it's helped you maybe understand more about Freemasonry. That's one of the goals of it. So, I mean, Freemasonry is not supposed to be in secret. That's kind of a misunderstanding because here I am talking about it. There are certain private elements to our ceremonies and rituals because they're like a family recipe. But the recipe itself may be private. The results are for the public. So if I have a family recipe about baking cookies from my grandmother, I may share the cookies with friends and family and the community and my church, wherever it might be, but I'm not going to share the recipe. Freemasonry is the same way. I love talking about it, talking about what it means, sharing our buildings and our history, but the rituals, that's like the recipe. That I keep private. I got a big forehead. The biggie, please hit like and subscribe. Oh, thank you for catching that. I appreciate it. There is no top of Freemasonry, Google Chrome. Freemasonry is a decentralized organization. Do not know what Mika Dank's astrology presentation is. We do, Daniel, but we should also have the entire community. I don't think our charity should be limited to our Masonic brothers. I think we should take these ideas of charity and benevolence and apply them to the community at large. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Freemasonry, is it encourages charity and tolerance for all. Now, obviously, I've been in a more privileged position to help my brothers through charity, benevolence, through, I took psychological first aid training. So if a brother is going through a crisis event and he calls me, I can help him out. I think that's something every Mason should do. All right, guys, I'm going to be woke is political. Freemasonry is not political. I'm going to be ending this stream. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break, but I'm going to be coming back on in probably an hour, give or take. And we're going to keep talking about Freemasonry. So we're going to take a quick break. I'll see you all soon. Tinfoil hat, just turn your notification bell on. That way you'll find me when I come back on. All right, talk to you guys soon. Approximately 1 hour, roughly 1 hour.